Good afternoon, welcome. My name is Sean van den Berg. I head up investor education here at PSG Wealth. You can see our topic for today is tips for managing your money. Why this topic, as some of you might know, is that May is savings month. So why is it important to save money? We save basically because we cannot predict the future. So we're going to be touching a lot on that today. So saving money can help you become financially secure, number one, and number two, also provide a safety net in case of emergency. So we'll be talking about emergency funds and things like that. More importantly, there are investment vehicles that will help you work towards achieving financial freedom or financial independence, as well as a happy retirement. So my objective today, I know it's a very basic topic, but I think a lot of people do neglect thinking about it. But the worst case scenario is if you can teach, those of you that are parents, teach your young children about saving money, I believe personally that we will have a stronger society financially. Okay, so my quick agenda for today. If I can just move on to the next one, there we go. So very briefly, reasons why some people do not save money, reasons why you should be saving money. I'm going to spend some more time on how to create, protect, and grow your money or your wealth, and what investment vehicles would suit you. Okay, so that is basically our agenda very quickly for the next few minutes. Okay, so let's start off with the main thing here is why reasons why some people do not save money. And I'm going to use a true story that I came across. So we got a scenario where a young student, okay, he's busy studying Mayeni. He acquired a 80,000 rands a student loan. And if you look at scenarios where we're talking about in more detail just now, but you're looking at a bachelor's degree, about 40,000 rand a year. Over 3 years, we're talking about 120,000 rand. So this is very easy to get to the scenario. But soon after he started, he got his first job, he borrowed money, 144,000 to buy a car. Okay, so he had borrowings, and number three, he had credit card debt. Okay, so I think that's a lot of people relate to that kind of scenario. Mayeni is only one of nearly 25 million South Africans who are in debt of some sort. This is according to the National Credit people. 60% of credit active consumers are in good standing and up to date with the repayments. However, 40% of people are falling behind on the repayments. So coming back to Mayeni as a student, and we'll be talking about it a bit later, I think education funding is important, and we'll talk, as I say, later about it. The better educated you are, the better your chances of getting a job. We all know that. The employment rate remains high among those with education levels less than matric. It says about a 33% level there, while unemployment rate amongst those who are graduates remains around about 7%. So there's no guarantee, but clearly the part of the answer to South Africa's dire youth unemployment obviously is the levels of education. So it's a difficult catch-22 situation in the sense that many people find themselves in. You want to find a job, but you need education, and obviously that costs money. So a student loan could be the only choice for many young children or young students out there, young people, millennials, especially those from a disadvantaged background, if they don't qualify for a bursary or a study allowance. So the result is that many young professionals find themselves burdened with student debt. I'm not 100% sure of the figures here in South Africa, but we all know if you look at what's happening in the States, that's their biggest problem right now, student debt. And that's a bubble that's going to pop one of these days, and we might see implications here in South Africa. But following a budget and to settle that student loan debt before incurring any further debt, as soon as you start your first job, I believe is a priority. And we're going into more details just now. So the idea here is that it's your financial future. If you don't do anything about it, it's going to hinder you going forward, and it's going to obviously hinder your promising future. So I'm going to talk more, and I know some of you guys on this call are not the millennials or the young people, but I want you to think about this in the sense that there are a lot of millennials right now that are finding it a challenge. More and more millennials are going to university compared to their prior generations. Almost 25% of 18 to 34-year-olds hold a bachelor degree or higher. Now, 71% of these recipients have taken out student loans. Okay, this is obviously a lot of the stats pertaining to America, but you can look at it very similar here in South Africa. Hence, our student fees revolt a few years ago. But the average median debt, or the median debt hovers around 120,000 here in South Africa. If you look at a bachelor degree, as I said, over 3 years, 40,000 rand a year. That's just for the tuition. Then we start looking at between 5,000 and 8,000 rand per year for books. So we're talking between 15 and 24,000 rand for books. And then we still have to bring in consideration food, accommodation, transport, and all those other kind of things. It's interesting to note that 30% of these graduates would consider selling a body part if they could get rid of their student loan. So this is a big hassle for a lot of people starting out. That's number one. Number two, millennials are living in cities now, and obviously urban areas have higher rate of cost, higher living cost, and obviously this impacts on less disposable income for these millennials. Millennials are making less money than in previous decades. Compared to 19 years ago, the same group are actually making less. Combine that with the debt and the high cost of living, these guys actually have a negative growth, or negative net worth, put it that way. And then lastly, obviously, millennials are delaying, and this is also a scary fact, are delaying purchasing a home or car, okay? But obviously with Uber and things like that are making things a bit easier for them, but also they're delaying marriage and childbirth. 60% of these 18 to 35-year-olds are renting properties. Okay, yes, it is difficult for them to own a property, but 60% of them are deciding rather to rent than to own. That's number one. And number two, 26% are still living with their parents due to rising housing costs. More young people are postponing marriage and kids, and they'd rather get out of debt or live on their own first, which is prudent, but obviously that will be implications going forward for society. So interesting times. So how can the millennials save money? How can we help them? So first of all, you can say, moving in with my parents, I can save money and things like that. Having a roommate also would be nice. If I'm splitting the rent and all the costs and things like that. It might not be glamorous staying with your parents, but geez, I think it's this time and such is a prudent thing to do. What you can also do, and this is where you can start saving money, and I see this all the time. I did a little survey, or looked up, I found a website called Business Tech, and this is December last year. If you had to compare coffee, and I for one love my coffee, especially love having a cup of coffee in the morning while I'm driving to the office. But if you had to look at, if you're spending between 25 and 30 rand a day on coffee or a latte, okay, a week, it's between 125 and 150 rand a week you can be saving if you can just keep that and make your own coffee at home. Get yourself a nice coffee percolator. If worst case scenario, I always say the worst case scenario is go the cheap route and go buy a bottle of Nescafe Classic or a Jacob's Kruning just for a while. But you're going to be saving some money. So you're saving between 500 and 600 rand a month. That equates nearly 6,000 to 7,200 a year over a 5-year period. That's 30,000 to 36,000 rand you can be saving, and that's where you can be getting that money to invest for you. That's just one example. Okay, I'm using example in this scenario is getting coffee from Starbucks on a daily basis, but also, a lot of us go spend money on a daily basis for takeaways. Between 50 and 60 rand every day, either be it for a burger or a toasted sandwich or a salad. That 50 to 60,000, 60 rand a month again can add up to this. You got additional savings that you can put aside and get that money to work for you now. I hope that makes a bit more sense to you guys. But also there's a lot of other ways. Instead of going out every day for having lunch with your friends, We go once a week. You can still treat yourself. And then obviously, instead of having the beer or the wine, stick to the water. There's an old saying, where there's a will, there's a way. Okay, so that's what we're trying to get you with this idea here. So reasons why you should be saving money. Obviously, there are a lot of reasons. We'll go into more detail, but what's important, and again, I'm talking to the millennials, to the young people, when do you start saving? Okay. Ideally, you want to get into the habit of saving or investing when you land your first job. That's number one. Number two, the next best time to start saving is now. Okay. So there are a lot of tools out there, but there's what do you call a budget planner. You can go online, find these budget planners to show you what you're spending your money on now. That's number one. But also what's important is, obviously get your income coming from your salary, but then you can see things like, where am I spending, how much money am I spending on rent and transport and groceries and cell phone and all those other things that are critical for you to live every month. But also to tell you how much is left afterwards. And then from that, you should be ideally saving between 10 and 10, between 5 and 10% of your income. So if you're earning 15,000 Rand a month, you should be saving between 750 and 1,500 Rand. And that's going to help you towards your goals, especially for an emergency fund. Why must you save? And we're going into more details just now, but instead of saying I want to save towards that phone, you want to obviously take advantage of compound interest. Albert Einstein spoke about the eighth wonder of the world, the magic of compounding, and that's where you get your money to work harder for you. Okay, so let's talk about reasons why you want to save money. So number one, okay, we're talking about setting up an emergency fund. Now, I've been one of these guys that's been hit with this. I never had an emergency fund in place because I never thought of it. But basically, it's a how can I say? It's emergency that's for unexpected costs. I had a problem with plumbing very recently, and I had to dip into savings. And savings was for something else. So the idea with the savings emergency fund, and the best way to explain this is to answer three questions. Okay, is there an unexpected cost? Yes, I didn't expect this problem with the plumbers. Number one. Number two, is it a necessary cost? I had to sort it out. And number three, is it urgent? Yes, I had to sort it out. And that's why it's important to have an emergency fund. And that's compared to having a fund for bad times, what I call a rainy day fund. Emergency fund is a bit more shorter term, immediate crisis, and that's where a savings account will come in handy. All you want to do is maybe put 10,000 Rand away. That's what you want to use it for, exactly for those kind of emergencies. Okay. Then secondly, you want to save for bad times, and this is the saving money for bad times is not the same for emergency fund. It's a different time horizon, different needs as such. But basically, emergency fund, as I mentioned just now, is for immediate short-term problems. Okay, like a plumbing problem or your car breaking down outside of your maintenance agreement, whatever the case might be. Okay, so the bad times fund must be large enough to cover all your living expenses for between 6 and 12 months. This is, for example, imagine if you had to lose your job, number one, or a family member suffered an accident, or there was a health problem that reduces or cuts off the income. That's what you want to use these bad funds for. It's a rainy day fund. Okay, between 6 and 12 months living expenses. Touched on it just now, your children's education. Now, if you're young and soon be heading off to university, then saving money ahead of the game is a very important or very clever thing to do. If you're a parent, okay, it's very wise to put some money away for your children's education fund as soon as you can do that. And that's where the tax-free investment plan and those kind of things come in handy. Okay, so we spoke about it already. University education is becoming more expensive year by year. So saving for the education fund will reduce your son's or your daughter's need to take an expensive student loan to pay for those tuition fees. And some of you might say, geez, my biggest dream is to own my own home. So saving towards that house, it's great. There's no greater feeling than owning your own place and calling it home. But obviously, a lot of us don't have the money to buy a house outright. And so we have to save up towards a fat deposit. And the nice thing about having a fat deposit is that I can have a better home loan deal through one of the banks. And obviously, because my loan to value ratio means that they obviously can negotiate better interest rates and things like that. Some of us, I love traveling. So who doesn't love traveling? I love to go and see the world as much as I can. But being financially fit and having the savings in place gives me that peace of mind. Okay, so that's another reason why you want to save. And then this is what I believe is one of the important things. Be in a situation where I'm financially independent. Okay, this is my ultimate goal. You wake up every morning, you feel like you have options or choices. Do I go to work or don't I go to work today? So we'll go into that in more detail. And I also believe if you achieve financial freedom, you will be on the road to having a happy retirement. So the idea is this is where the future you want to save for. You know, that the happy retirement, the golden years, as they always say. So we're all going to get there one day. It depends on the quality. Okay, so that's very basically the reason why you want to start saving. So I have touched on this before. I've used this model for many years, and I like this model. We talk about the 6 money jars. It's a money management system. So basically, you got 6 money jars, and we'll go into more detail with it. So I believe, and this is what's important, you worked hard for your money. Those of you that are working for a salary, you worked hard for your money every month. You want to come, the very first thing you want to do is pay yourself first. And that goes into your financial freedom account. I call this the golden goose, because the golden goose will lay the golden egg one day. This is where you're going to build up the passive income streams. This is money you'll never spend. So just an example, I'm using just simplified. You got 20,000 Rand a month. You got to put 10% or 2,000 Rand into this forever savings account or this financial freedom account. And you'll see on the next slide, I go into more detail. And then we're going to, obviously, most of our expenses, most of our income will be spent on necessities. The idea is to be disciplined enough to limit it just to 50% necessities. So that might be the rent or the bond, utilities, food and clothes and that. So in this example, 10,000 Rand. So you can see in this example, there's no room for debt. So the very first thing you always want to do before setting up any of these things is get rid of that debt. When I say debt, it's bad debt, like we spoke about student loans, credit card debt, all those kind of things. You do not want to have that in place. So 50% of necessities, then you want to be in a situation where you have a 10%, what I call a give account or tithing account. I like to give 10% tithing to my church. But also you might want to have some, maybe split it up, 5% for charity and tithing, and then you also want to have money available, and you plan ahead for your children's birthdays and special occasions and things like that. But you budget for it. 10% to education. This is outside your children's education. So this is your personal development. This is what I spend. I personally spend a lot of money on trading and books and things like that, investing in courses. So again, you budget for that. 10% on long-term savings. This is the nice-to-have purchases. So you don't go buy it on credit. It's that TV that you want. Okay, you save towards it. And this is where your children's fund or your children's education fund might come in. So you might allocate certain amount of funds out of that 2,000 Rand, allocate maybe 500 Rand a month to your children's education if they've just been born, for example. You've got long term. You might want to have that emergency fund growing towards that 1 year or 6 months to a year's living expenses. That's where it will come from. And then lastly, as I said, you worked hard for your money. Take 10% of your money every month and nurture yourself. Go spend it on a massage or a nice bottle of wine when you go out for dinner and things like that, or a weekend away. Okay, so that's the 6 money jars. Okay, what's important from there is we talk about how do you create your cash flow. So all of us in a situation where we're either working for ourselves or we're working for a salary, we have a 9-to-5 job, but I call that earned income. As I say, it comes from your salary or your bonuses. So taking that money, that income, okay, your salary, less your expenses. So yes, pay yourself first, that financial freedom account, and there's all your different categories. And from that, so your salary minus your expenses will equal what your savings, and ideally, as I say, at least 10%. That's where that comes from, okay? And you're going to invest that either into shares. In our context today, obviously, you're at PSG Wealth, we're talking about shares. You can invest into property shares, you can buy into property, rental properties, or you can start your own business, okay? But bottom line, the golden goose will lay the golden eggs, and that's going to give you, when I say golden eggs, that's where we talk about that passive income. And that's how we start growing into a situation where our passive income exceeds our monthly salary, or monthly expenses rather. We can be in a situation where we are financially independent. And then we carry on investing, and then we get to the stage where financial freedom. Okay, so I'm just get some water here. So let's move on to how to create, protect, and grow your money. So here's 6 tips for protecting and growing your money. Very importantly, sorry, I got a frog in my throat here. And this comes more towards wealth management, but you can also use it when you're first starting out to have these kind of principles in place. You want to have a suitable strategy, investment strategy in place that's obviously created and managed to meet your particular circumstances and goals. And this will include obviously a risk tolerance, which I'll go into on the next point, as well as your requirements for income. So when you're young, obviously you want to build capital growth. You focus on capital growth. Income will come later. When you're a bit more mature, you want to have capital preservation, and obviously you have to start looking at income. So that's number one. Establish your suitable strategy. So it's very important that you adjust as you go through life phases. You adjust your strategy. Okay. Establish your risk appetite. Again, the younger you are, more risk you can take on. So that balance, getting that right balance between risk and return is very important. So it's that blend between different asset classes. So we talk about diversification. That's on point number 4. But your risk appetite comes to, if you the younger you are, the more risk you can take on, because you've got a longer time horizon to recover. As you get older, obviously you can't take so much risk, but it's more managed risk. Okay, that's what's important. Identify your timeline for investing. Also important in the sense that the longer you have to invest, the more risk you can take on. So it all fits together. Okay, but remember, liquidity and all that kind of stuff is also important. I spoke just now about diversification. Yeah, we're talking about spreading your risk across asset classes. So yes, in this context today, we're focusing a lot more on what I call paper money, shares and things like that. But you can also talk about property and a lot of other asset classes. But talking about asset classes, geographic areas or geographic regions, as well as market sectors, all those kind of things will help you look at managing the risk. Also very important that you, in your planning, incorporate effective tax planning. And this is where the financial advisor comes in. So you want to be in a situation where you have a efficient tax structure in place, number one. Number two, that ensures a tax efficient income, but also more importantly, I believe, where you can transfer the wealth to your beneficiaries, to your family, your children, with minimal bureaucracy, as well as obviously inheritance tax and those kind of things. Also very important, lastly, is to review your strategy regularly. Do it once a year. Again, this is where you sit down with your financial advisor and make sure that things are still in place for wherever you are in life right now. Okay. Again, this is where your financial advisor will come in handy. Okay. So let's quickly talk about investment vehicles, and I've tried to keep it as basic as possible. So firstly, we talk about a savings account. This is where I believe that emergency fund, this is your first step. Okay, so it's ideal for individuals looking to save and get a modest return from an interest. Remember, it's not so much about the interest in this scenario. I believe it's more having accessibility to it. So liquidity and flexibility is important. So there's a time and place for all these kind of investments. So what's important is that you have access to it. That's number one. And number two, obviously you don't need big sums of money to start, but obviously it depends on the type of savings account you're looking at. The disadvantage, and you can't look at this as a investment vehicle, because the biggest challenger is having access to it, is be very tempted to spend it. Okay, so if you don't have discipline, this is not a vehicle to look at. And you have to look at things like fixed deposits, But again, remember, this is just a vehicle within the bigger space. So savings accounts, just understand, will have the lowest interest compared to other investment types. And obviously, some of these funds might require that you have to keep a minimum balance there all the time. And if it falls below that limit, you might incur some charges and things like that. So that's the starting point. That's where the emergency fund will come in. And then this would be a interesting one to look at. Owning your own home, there's pros and cons. Obviously, the long-term benefit, you have the security and obviously growth in that equity and the potential growth in your personal wealth. That's number one. And obviously, the value of your home will appreciate over time. If you do want to sell it, hopefully there's some profit in it. The house becomes your legal property, and obviously you have the freedom to do what you want to, compared to renting a property and you have problems with landlord. You can alter it and obviously suit it to your style and need. And obviously when it comes to, a lot of people look, and this will be on the next slide, the option of buying to rent will obviously generate more income for you, and that income can be put towards the home loan also. There are disadvantages, obviously. The home ownership comes with that bond repayments, and obviously as interest rates go up, you have to pay more, so you have to take that in consideration. You also got regular house maintenance. You have to make allowance for that. But you also got additional costs, things like rates and taxes, insurance, and as I mentioned now, maintenance. The biggest risk here, and I've seen it myself with a lot of properties, that you risk of not making any profits through the resale of it. Depends on where you are, as well as location. And compared to, if you look at Robert Kiyosaki, his definition of assets and liabilities, asset is something that puts money in your pocket. Owning your own home, I personally don't look at it as an asset, because I look at it as a liability. This is a personal view. Because it takes money out of your pocket. Yes, you might have growth and things like that, but sometimes the cost of running it is not worthwhile. Okay, that's again a personal story. Let's talk about rental property. So rental property, obviously the advantage there, your tenants or the renters provide you with direct income stream, and obviously the advantage there would be, hopefully, that it offsets other expenses like water and lights, levies, and security and things like that. You stand a good chance, obviously, to gain in property value over a period of time. Again, it all depends on location. And then if you're keeping and maintaining it, your sweat equity will transfer into additional value to the property if obviously you're maintaining it. The disadvantages, to a lot of people, owning a rental property is a serious concentration of the assets. In other words, a significant portion of the average person's net worth will be tied up in that rental property. The biggest challenge with rental property is that your tenant is not guaranteed to pay their rent. Okay, then as I mentioned just now, obviously you got levies, taxes, fees, and other insurance also have to take in consideration. And some people might choose it. You might be actively involved in managing the property. You might have a rental agent managing it for you, but again, it's a cost. You pay at least 10% of your rental income to managing the property to the managing agent. So let's get into paper money. Let's talk about voluntary investment plan. This is the old unit trust, what we call unit trusts. There's a range of unit trusts available on our platform, on PSG Wealth's platform. There's over 450 funds to choose from. That gives you the advantage of flexibility, as I mentioned earlier. You can switch between these underlying funds. You can access it any time. There's no fixed investment term. And obviously, you can also request regular withdrawals. So if you've got a big lump sum in there, you can create a monthly income for you, either monthly, quarterly, yearly, or half yearly. Okay. There's no excess fees charged on withdrawal. Just understand the biggest disadvantage of unit trust, obviously, is tax. Okay, taxes payable on the income, as well as on dividend distributions, as well as capital gains. Just be aware of those kind of things. The same as when you're switching between the different funds. The tax implications there, especially capital gains. Moving one step further, again, there's a time and there's a place for these kind of investments. You got the tax-free investment plan. The advantages is all capital growth, dividends, and interest earned within the tax-free investment plan is free from tax. Okay. Advantage, you can access that fund anytime. There's no fixed period again, and you have a whole range of underlying investments you can choose from. The biggest disadvantage, I can put the money in, but I can withdraw it. Just understand, it does not increase my annual contribution limits. Okay, so you've got a 500,000 Rand for the lifetime limit. Remember, any growth in that is tax-free. That's the biggest advantage there. When we talk about retirement annuities, this is more of a tax-efficient vehicle for yourself. Contributions are tax deductible to a maximum of 27.5% of your income, limited to 350,000 Rand a year. Obviously, the proceeds are tax-free to a certain limit. Any growth within your RA is tax-free. The first third gets paid out in a lump sum. The other 2/3 has to be paid into a living annuity. So as I say, it's a tax-free, tax-efficient vehicle. The biggest disadvantage I see of this is it's great for someone who's got discipline, but if you want access to those funds before the age of 55, you won't be able to use it. Okay, that's where those other vehicles come in. So now we move up the scale now, and we talk about having a local share trading account. It all sounds great. It takes time, takes knowledge, takes obviously capital. But the main idea here is that you can create your own portfolio of JSE listed shares. And the main idea there is you can say, I'm a part owner of a listed company. So that's number one. And number two, you cannot lose more than you invested compared to putting your money into derivative products where there's margin and you have to pay in variation margins. So it is an advantage. And then obviously a big advantage here is that over the long term, historically, the stock market has outperformed inflation, and that's given you that capital growth and has given you that dividend income. The disadvantages obviously is risk. The higher the potential returns, the higher potential risk. So yes, you got volatile markets, you do not have capital protection, and your investment returns are not guaranteed. So, it's an emotional roller coaster for a lot of people, and that's why I say the share market is not for everybody. You have to look at those other investment products. And then some of you might go one step further and look at offshore trading accounts. Again, this is where you want to diversify your risk geographically. So you have access to 35 international exchanges. The main advantage here is you can use your annual 1 million Rand offshore allowance, as well as you can use our asset swap facility. Okay. Biggest risk again, biggest disadvantage, there's risk. Again, volatile markets, there's no capital protection. You got also currency risk, political risk, all those other kind of risks to take in consideration. Okay, again, it's an emotional roller coaster. Okay, so those are some of the popular investment options to touch on. So, guys, I hope that made sense to you. I've gone over a bit of time, got excited, got carried away there. So, just quickly summarize. Okay, saving money provides a financial backstop for life's uncertainties. That's the main reason why you want to save money. And obviously, it increases your feelings of security and gives you that peace of mind. What's important is have a clear goal or purpose for what you want your money to do for you. Okay, why are you saving the money? Okay, so savings provide that seed money, especially when you're still young. It provides that seed money for higher yielding investments such as unit trust and shares. But bottom line, put your money to work for you by taking advantage of the magic of compounding growth or compounding interest. Okay, so let's see what kind of questions are out there. As I say, I've gone over time, forgive me, sorry. Cool, let's look at the questions here quickly. Okay, yeah. CWM, I don't know what your first names are. Yes, apart from student debt, obviously auto loans is a big issue in the States also. Yeah, I've heard that too. Okay. Corne, I'll be sending the presentation. I'll be sending the recording of the presentation as well as the PDF to you guys. Okay, another question here from Mr. Jaber. Says, is it better to own up to buy a house or buy into a franchise existing business model? Contentious argument, that one. Yeah, I'd rather look at buying a business and renting in the meantime to get my business started, but obviously understanding buying the franchise is higher risk. So again, your risk appetite, it depends what you want to do. Okay. Okay, Dewalt asking a good question here. Can I focus a bit more on offshore investments or taking money out of South Africa? Yes, we can make it a topic for one of our webinars. Good idea. Okay. Now, you're never too late. You might be 38 now, to pay you 38. You still got many years ahead of you. Okay. Okay, you want to find out more information on family trust? That's from Petrus. Petrus, the best thing to do is get a hold of one of our fiduciary advisors on our website. They're the best person to get hold of you to talk to you about a trust. Okay. Danny, good question here. Do you earn interest on the cash held in offshore accounts? The answer is no. They got negative interest rates. They actually don't want you to keep money in the savings account there. So the answer is no. You get negative interest rates. Yes, offshore fees are quite higher. Yes, I know that on our platform, our offshore trading fees is 1%. And there's a lot of other fees to take in consideration. So again, investing offshore directly is not for everybody. You can have offshore exposure through a local share trading account and investing into what we call exchange traded funds. You can have exposure to the top 500 companies in America. You can have exposure to the NASDAQ. You can have exposure to Europe through an ETF. Okay, so that's another way of looking at it. Cool, I hope that answers all the questions. Okay. Guys, thank you very much for your time. I've gone overboard a bit. Just to wrap up, any questions you guys have, please drop me an email. The team as such is wealth@psg.co.za. You can also get us on that number. So from my side, thank you very much for being on this webinar. Until next month, all the best. Bye for now.